Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Just before I get going, I don't know how many people have a yearly appraisal. I've told this story before. Yeah, quite a few actually. Yeah, I have that joy of a yearly appraisal, and one of the feedbacks I had was I need to be more corporate, and I'm prone to a throwaway comment. So what I don't want, we've got quite a zealous Dyson PR team. So when I'm travelling back up to Lincolnshire, I don't really want any phone calls about what Ben Abell said at Rothamsted. It'll be quite nice, thank you. So I'm excited to share the Dyson Farming story, sort of where we've come from, what we do today, and how we're shaping the future of sustainable agriculture through innovation, technology, and regenerative thinking. It's probably just good start. Well, Sir James Dyson is very much passionate about farming. Started investing in 2012. Quite often the criticism in the early days was, it's just for tax reasons. He's putting money into land. But what hopefully, as I show you through the slides, is all the investment over the years obviously proves that's not the case. Probably I wouldn't be standing here if it was the case. It would be Joe Bloggs down the road contract farming it for him if it was just for those reasons. So very much passionate about farming and the future of that. Our aim is simple, to grow better food in better ways while improving the environment we rely on. At Dyson Farming, our vision is to grow the future of sustainable agriculture by bringing together innovation and great people. We're working to transform food categories by adding real value, producing food that tastes better, is healthy, and is grown in harmony with the natural environment. Everything we do is led by long-term thinking and a desire to farm more responsibly. It's quite interesting. We've got food on there, a bit of a foodie myself, and I was on a course recently, and they asked, put your hands up if you own an air fryer. I don't know if anyone wants to put the hand up if they own an air fryer. There's quite a few. I was on this course, and I shot my hand up thinking most other hands would go up, and no one else's hand did. But so it's the way food's changing. This guy presented on food and sort of convenience, as we've seen. Now every petrol station has like a Waitrose or a Simply Food. The way we buy food, the way we consume food, want food as an experience, it's all sort of changing, and it's just sort of reacting to that. We've been a commodity crop business. When we started, sort of £10 million turnover. We're now a 50 million turnover business, sort of 12, 13 years later, so massive growth. And that's not just come through commodity crops, obviously adding value, etc. So it's always interesting. I went to a place recently and talked about organic food and how organic food is just very stagnant, just bumbling along for a lot of years now. So now they're rebranding it as regeneratively organic. Because that's a bit more excitement, but so that was interesting. So we'll have to see how that goes for them. Let me start with a quick overview of the business. Obviously, firstly, food production, the most important thing. We produce around 100,000 tonnes of crops and livestock every year. This is all grown within a circular, the word regen farming system. Maybe get that. Regen is just, I've talked about it before. I don't really like the word, but I love the passion around regen. Fantastic passion, fantastic ideas, but it's just a word that gets used over and over again, justifying things. And it's just, it's just whether it's going to lose some impact potentially. So how we think about that. We produce renewable energy. So we've got 2 AD plants producing 5 megawatt capacity. We inherited one in 2011, which is on a really good tariff, but that tariff ends in 20 years, so that's 2031, so not far away. So it's what we do with it then. Then we've got one at Carrington, which was CHP, electric to grid, but using electric and heat to power a 11.5 hectare glasshouse, where we're growing the strawberries, so 1,200 tons of strawberries a year, using that renewable power. And then obviously the back end of the digester with fertilizer back onto land to grow the crops to feed the plant. So that sort of circular system. We're also looking at how we take out CO2 that we produce and clean that up. But it's sort of £1 million capex. Probably doesn't quite stack up on the returns. It did when CO2 price shot up when fertilizer plants closed. We could have sold that tank of CO2 for a profit of over 100k. And we thought, yes, we just need to get on and extract CO2. But then price soon came down again, so it doesn't quite stack up now. But we've got some solar as well, rooftop solar, sort of 0.5 megawatt. Again, we're against field solar, something of a challenge. Sort of talk about land use in the UK, some big solar farms, and the classification of land I think needs to be looked at as well, going forward. The other interesting one at Nocton is we've got an 8,000-ton potato. We've got an 8,000-ton potato store at Nocton, and the whole yard is off-grid because the AD plant have a cable, which you probably saw at home after Russia invaded Ukraine. Your energy prices shot up at home. So obviously having that, running a fridge, storing potatoes for 10 months of the year is quite expensive at 4 degrees. It's a big cost, but obviously off-grid with the power from the AD plant was a help to us. Other areas, obviously research, talked about a lot already today, but we took a business on. It was crop management, crop management information. If I remember, the late Dr. Chris Green, rebranded that as CMI, then Green Crop Information, now Dyson Farming Research. So that's independent research is a huge part of our work, testing crop strategies, improving quality, reducing carbon and strengthening ecosystem health. It's very much sort of practical research that we think will benefit the farm. And then we can sort of roll it out sort of larger across all the farms. We've got 120 clients that sort of pay yearly subscription to receive that information. I'll talk a bit more about research in more detail later. We've got quite an exciting research farm. We've just developed this sort of last 6 months, which we'll come on to later. Obviously, environments, we manage 1,600 hectares of stewardship. Sort of 12% of our area is in fixed environmental schemes, and so over 60% of our farmed area is in some sort of SFI scheme, be it sort of no insecticides or cover crops or catch crops, AHL2 herbal A's. Obviously, reputation's massive for us working for a business that's got a brand of worth 20 billion. And it's very important that's protected, and a lot of what we do is around risk and reputation. Profitability comes further down. Really crucial we get that right. And then finally, we invest in high quality homes, leisure spaces, educational facilities. Obviously, bought farms with dilapidated properties that we've sort of turned into rentals and holiday lets, and we've had racing gallops and stables and sorts like that, which again, diversified income so crucial to farming. Been on a course recently, the diversification in businesses, farming businesses, is just massive these days. Actually, farming's probably making a loss at the minute, but it is things like the holiday lets and other things keeping it going, which is, should farming be reliant on that to keep them going. Food production is reliant on people being diversified, is a little bit sad for me personally. Just moving on to sort of what does regen look like at Dyson Farming? We've got sort of 3,000 hectares integrated across the business. What I would say is we do what's appropriate. So I like to say we're targeted with cultivations. Now, if we have to plough, we'll plough, but we've got an element of no-till as well. So ultimately, we have to be profitable. There's no point farming green if you're in the red, as they say. So ultimately, everything we have to do is based on profitability, and we think that we can do that hand in hand with the environment as well. Better nitrogen cycling, reduced soil mineral nitrogen losses over winter, improved infiltration, reduced compaction, opportunities for grazing. We've got sort of 8,000 sheep, grazing cover crops, cycling nutrients, etc. So it's important that we get it right, but it's not without challenges. Particularly on heavy land, establishing sort of wheat, etc., after catch crop on heavy land can be challenging. It can leave the soil quite wet, slug problems, etc. So I'm sort of open to heavy land is more difficult. I think light land, medium loam soils, cover cropping, catch cropping is, works very, very well. It would be a no-brainer for us on those sort of soil types, but heavy land is quite challenging. So yeah, I think the important thing at regen isn't a checklist. It is a mindset, but it needs to constantly evolve around data and field performance and environmental outcomes, and that's what we're doing. We need to put data behind it to prove what we're doing is correct. Because I can talk about all the wonderful things what we're doing, but if there's no data behind it, then it can feel a bit like greenwashing, and you're just saying that. And if we're looking at monetizing that in the future, as companies look for data, so when they sell their products, is they want that data behind it, and that's crucial. What we're on with, and so look how the business has evolved over the years. I like to talk about my agronomy pyramid and returns. So things at the bottom of the pyramid will return much more than things at the top, and so the higher returns is getting drainage right, ditches right. Timeliness of operations is crucial. Soil health, organic manures, things like ag chem, biologicals, technology are all fantastic, but they're very much towards the tip of the pyramid of returns. You can see that as sort of as we've gone along, we've added that. But the early days was buying a lot of land that had swapped hands for investment companies. It's been run by investment firms, contract farmers, so it was probably in poor estate. So had to spend a huge amount of money. It was importing 35,000 tonnes of poultry litter a year to try and improve the farms. We're spending £2 million a year on drainage to improve the infrastructure. You can see where we started buying at Nocton. So that was when the Super Dairy, in 2012, at Nocton Heath went belly up and moved in and bought that, put the Nocton estate back together, then Carrington followed. Those are sort of two big hubs. We built Carrington AD in 2016. We had all this land but no infrastructure, and that is what the early days was, the building of the infrastructure. So building the grain stores, putting the tracks in, doing the drainage. Grain was a nightmare. It was just sort of 40,000 tons of grain just tipped on pads, just moving it 3 times before it could find a home. Had tiny little chemical stores. It was difficult back in those early days of farming at scale without the infrastructure, and that's sort of through those middle years as we built that infrastructure to be able to farm better. We added green crop information in 2020, strawberries in 2021, and then we changed the brand into Dyson Farming. So you can obviously see the early branding was beeswax, and then we've eventually got Dyson in the name. So I've talked about PR, but can anyone, maybe someone might know what the difference is? The Dyson name to actually the Dyson logos, on vacuum cleaners. It's different. Yeah, you've been on the tour. The D. So we've got a big D. So obviously PR don't trust us enough yet to give us the little d. So we're not little d Dyson Farming, we're big D. So when we get little d, we've made it and they trust us. But obviously, early days was beeswax. Dyson, no, you're not putting Dyson anywhere near the name for a start until we sort of trust the process and trust what you're doing. So obviously you can see the journey we've been on. So we'll see where that goes. But so this is about technology. Again, it comes down to, if you think back to that agronomy pyramid I mentioned, the early days was all about data gathering. So sort of basic technology, variable rate seeding, variable rate nitrogen. Black Cat was the weighbridge recording system. So what we did in those early days, I built a hall of shame because I had all this land, 35,000 acres of land, and really no data. I wanted to know how it performed. So then was able to categorize by collecting all those data in the early years, give ourselves a hall of shame in terms of top performing fields and poor performing fields. Because if you can improve the poor performing fields, your whole average will go up. There's no point concentrating on the really good fields because they'll always be good. And that's when it looked now that needs draining. It was that actually we'll put that into environmental schemes. So we did a lot of that sort of heavy lifting in the early days. We, again, reputation, we're protecting nest sites. So we've got a massive percentage of the UK's population of marsh harrier. Nocton Fen has something like 10% of the UK marsh harrier population alone. So I was able to drone, pinpoint nests, then create a harvesting map for the forager, so we could leave an area unharvested around those nesting sites. Useful for sort of volumetric measurements as well, the drones. Then sort of moving through the journey. So we've done the heavy lifting, the bottom of the pyramid. We're doing that better, doing that well. What's the next step up the pyramids to get even better, when those things at the top will start giving more returns because we've got the stuff at the bottom done well? And that's when we come in things like vision technology. Back then, we invested 100k in a Bilberry camera system on the dam and sprayer, so 12 RGB cameras along the boom. Doing green on brown works really well. Spot treating glyphosate, sort of 90% reduction in glyphosate usage using that system. We tried to develop green on green, been very busy building algorithms, putting cocktail flags, stick flags out on weeds, cameras over, recording that, building algorithms, but it's very, very difficult. And Bilberry have actually pulled out of your European market. You see the growth in sort of Australia, South America, places like that. So now it's how we develop that camera system. Wide row crops, big weeds like volunteer potatoes in a crop, it's quite easy to pick them out and it will spray them. But small broadleaf weeds under a barley crop is very difficult. And no black grass in wheat would be another good one. And then some of the other things this is sort of building the agri-sound. We've had wilder sensing, water is in WATR sensors. So now it's like, you've done all this wonderful stuff, but what's happened? Can you prove you've made benefits to your farms? And then that will help us then monetize that in the future, the improvements we've made. So we've had wilder sensing and water sensors running from the 1st of May this year to the 1st of November, and collecting data through that period. So like the acoustic sensors, sort of picked up 62 green listed, 43 amber listed, and 25 red list species birds. Particularly skylarks, linnets, yellowhammers, yellow wagtails. So there's high activity around riparian areas supporting waders as well. So that was sort of getting that email recently to see that benefit of, you got the data, but we think, we think we're farming reasonably well, but to have that was one of the better emails I've had. It made me smile. Some emails make you grumpy, but that actually made me smile, that actually we're doing something right here to get those good results. Again, with the water sampling, we test the water when it enters our farm and then when it leaves the farms, so we can see the impact our farm landscape has on that water quality. And at Nocton, reducing sediment load, removing nitrate, stabilising pH. Carrington, we're buffering chemical fluctuations, improving the stability downstream. So again, that is useful data, and it proves to me that we're doing things well. Then the other big development recently has been XFarm. Don't know if anyone's heard of XFarm. It's an Italian software company. So we had a big beauty parade around data management. We've been gatekeeper users for a lot of years, but we wanted a system that was probably what we thought. Nothing against gatekeeper, but just probably wasn't where we wanted to be. So we had a big beauty parade. Got down to final 2, and went with XFarm. Main reason because it had an API and it can talk to our accounts package. It's also got great operability. It's got a good app. So we went down that route. I've been helping and develop that for the last year, spending time in Milan and building that out. So hopefully we'll have an offering in the UK that will rival Gatekeeper, Omnia, etc. What I want to get to is a live net margin figure. We're very good at gross margin level, but we can build in telemetry. A company called Exetract, it's a black box recorder. It'll record, you plug it into a machine, it'll record the machine, who was on it, how many hours it took them, how much fuel they used. All that data will then talk to XFarm. So we'll have a live true cost, because we've been using sort of CAV rates to control fixed costs, which are not particularly accurate. Now we'll get a much accurate cost of how much it actually costs us to grow crops down to net margin level. So that's really exciting. We can and build on data, and then I've really got 3 pillars to focus on. It's cost ownership, input efficiency, and output output as well. But we need the data to be able to really look in the mirror at what we're doing to drive changes. So that's ongoing. Again, I like some of these pictures to sort of explain what I think of regen farming. So for me, regen is probably taking something and making it better for future generations. If you look at what they did with a bagged vacuum to one without cyclone technology, same older newer hair dryer, really horrible old hand dryer to a newer Dyson hand dryer. It's taking something and improving on it and making it better. And for me, that is regen as well. Touched a bit on strawberries. Obviously, bookend the season. We've got heat and power. We can turn LED lights on to grow strawberries out of season. So when I say bookend, we don't want to be swamping the British summer market because there's lots of strawberries around. The price isn't very good. So obviously, we're early season and late season through to Christmas. And we produce a premium grade strawberry, the Red Diamond, M&S, Sainsbury's, Ocado. But it's the Morlin Centenary. It's premium variety. We could grow another variety and get more yield, but it wouldn't probably have the quality. So we aim for the quality markets. Change the packaging to some more sustainable packaging as well recently, which added a bit more cost. But you can see the strawberry on the left, obviously an imported strawberry, has to travel food miles, etc. So that's been a great sustainability story, that circular system. So yeah, it's just the journey we're on. It's talked about food, category transformation, producing more with less, which I get told all the time in meetings. Can you do more with less? I'll have a go. Yeah, it's. I don't know if anyone saw on the One Show recently that on the right-hand side, the Ferris wheel, as I call it. So we're looking at trying to grow more strawberries in the same footprint. Because you go in the glasshouse, there's a lot of open space. We've got strawberries on troughs. Actually, if we put the strawberries on, so actually it started off as a concept. Our engineer built it in Nocton workshop as a concept, and then the Dyson engineers took that on and built that, standing behind Sir James there. It's basically more fruit per square metre. We're not growing more. We're not having extra yield. It's just the fact we can get more plants in that footprint through that system. You see the LED lights there. So yeah, we do partner up with Dyson Research, which is great to have that engineering solutions to call upon to help us produce food. So yeah, it's just a bit about research. Yeah, it's exciting. We've actually put 1,000 acres farm solely into research at Nocton, which is quite for the UK, it doesn't really happen. So we took profit and loss accountability away from that farm. So purely down to research. We can do it whatever we want with it, and we're going to be looking at challenges that we think face us as farmers at Dyson, but also the wider industry, linking up with partners, whether it's Innovate UK, AgTech, and we've got Move Syngenta hub there, we've got PGRO there, where we had on other farms. So we've got research all in one place at Nocton, where we've got a lot of resource, got varied soil types. We can grow every crop there. We're doing a lot of work on biologicals. So there, yeah, from chemical to biological, it's quite a complex area. Obviously, looking at trying to reduce synthetic input is crucial as we go forward. Now, how does farming look in 2035 with less ag chem coming through? It's going to be better delivery of AI and probably smaller doses, lower loading, but also how biologicals fit in with that as well. We're doing some work with Johnson Sue as well, some trials there. But again, I want to myth bust. I get a lot of people coming to me with claims of how these wonderful products all work, but no one's got any data behind it. So the aim is to get some data behind it and actually, does it work? How does it work? Where does it work? that's sort of how, what, why, when we need to know. So hopefully that will go really well. Talk to AI. We'll build on from XFarm. So I think we need to embrace AI. It's sort of here to stay. I think it can be really good for the industry. Potentially, I know we've got all the data from years ago. We've got this sort of single source of truth now with XFarm. It's actually, I could just ask it, what is the optimum drilling date for winter wheat on Nocton Fen, and it'll just tell me. Things like that would be great. Fuel and efficient, we've had methane tractors. We produce methane from AD. We've had them on demo. Just looking at sort of carbon, decarbonising food production. We obviously know a big part of our footprint is burning diesel, as well as using manufactured fertiliser. So we've talked about equipment, robotic pickers in the glasshouse, robotic UV going up and down the strawberry rows, and talked about nutrition and taste. So those are sort of what we see as the key areas of research going forward, and we're working with that research farm, working with outside people as well as our internal research team. We're hopeful we can sort of meet the challenges of food production today and create new ideas and new solutions for the benefit of the wider industry. So that'll be great going forward. So yeah, that's rattled through that. I think to close, Dyson Farming is on a journey, one centered on sustainability, innovation, and evidence-based practice. Data is crucial. What I want to prove, what I'm saying, I want to prove it as well, that we are a force for good in food production. We're working to produce better food while restoring ecosystems, reducing emissions, and using technology to farm more intelligently. So yeah, thank you for your time.